I had a car that I loved. It was an old sedan, nothing fancy, but it got me around. For the longest time, I didn't care much for the idea of upgrading to something flashier. It was just me and my trusty car against the world. But that all changed when my sister, Emma, started talking about this transformational class she was looking into. She was so passionate about it. Every conversation seemed to circle back to it. She'd say, "This is it. This is the thing that will change everything for me. I just need to do this, and I'll be someone new." She believed in it wholeheartedly, even though it sounded a little out there, a little too polished for me. I was skeptical, but I'd never seen Emma this motivated before. Her enthusiasm was infectious. So when she told me the tuition for the class was sky high, I did what I thought was the right thing. I sold my car. It wasn't easy, I'd put so much of myself into keeping that car running. But I convinced myself it was worth it. I told myself it would only be temporary. I could always get another one later, but this class, this was what Emma needed. I'll never forget the day I handed over the keys. Emma was crying, thanking me. "You don't understand how much this means," she said. I smiled and told her, "It's just a car. You'll be a success, and that's all that matters." At that moment, I truly believed it. For the first few weeks, everything seemed perfect. She called me after every session, talking about how life-changing it was. I could hear the excitement in her voice. It almost felt like I'd done something noble, selfless. But then, after about 3 weeks, the calls stopped. The texts slowed down. I didn't think much of it at first. Sometimes, people get busy, right? But when I reached out, her tone was different. "I'm not sure about this anymore," she said one night. "It's not what I thought it would be." I tried to be supportive. "Maybe it's just a phase, you're just adjusting. You've always been a fighter, Em." But it didn't help. By the end of the month, Emma had quit. The class was a joke to her now. She said the whole thing was a scam. The transformational tools they gave her were useless, the people in the class were all fake, and the instructor didn't seem to know what they were doing. I was in shock. She didn't just quit, she was angry. The money, the time, the energy, it all seemed like a waste to her. And I couldn't believe it. I sat there in silence after she hung up. It felt like a punch to the gut. I had sold my car for this? I gave up my independence, my comfort, and now I was left with nothing to show for it. No car, no way to get around, and no safety net to fall back on. My life felt more unstable than ever. I tried to talk to her about it, but there was no real apology. It was as if she had convinced herself that the class was the only thing she needed to become herself, and now that she had given up, she didn't owe me anything. Here's where I am now, I walk to work. Public transit doesn't work well in the area, and I feel like I've lost a part of my freedom. I miss the sense of security I had when I was driving myself around. I find myself resenting Emma for not realizing the impact this had on me, even if she didn't mean it. Every time I see a car on the road, I can't help but feel the weight of my decision pressing down on me. I've tried to move past it. I keep telling myself that life has a funny way of working out, that there's a lesson here, but right now, it just feels like I gave up too much for nothing. It's been a few months since Emma quit that class, and I still haven't managed to get another car. The situation hasn't gotten any easier, and I've found myself growing increasingly frustrated. The days are longer, the walks feel endless, and the feeling of being trapped without the simple freedom of a vehicle is something I never thought I'd have to experience. I've tried to convince myself that this is just temporary. That I'm stronger for having made the sacrifice. But the truth is, I'm still angry, not just at Emma but at myself. Every time I have to ask for a ride or stand at a bus stop in the cold, it's a reminder of how much I've lost. I feel like I've become more dependent, more isolated, and that's a feeling I haven't been able to shake. And then there's Emma. She's back to her old self, picking up the pieces of her life, as if nothing ever happened. She's moved on from the class and found something else to chase after. But whenever I see her now, I can't look at her the same way. How could I? She doesn't even seem to grasp the gravity of what happened. She hasn't apologized or acknowledged the impact her decisions have had on me. And it stings. It stings more than I care to admit. I keep wondering if I did the right thing. Was I too quick to sell my car? Could I have found another way to help her? I don't have the answers, and every day that passes, I find myself drifting further from any sense of closure. But the worst part? I've learned to live without the car, without that piece of myself that used to bring me a sense of independence. And in a way, that feels even worse than losing the car itself. Sometimes, I think about reaching out to Emma, telling her how much this has affected me, but then I stop myself. It feels pointless. She's moved on. Why should I drag her back into this mess? It's easier to keep it all inside, even if it eats away at me. I've started looking into getting a car again, but the thought of paying for one, after all this, makes my stomach turn. It feels like a reminder of how easily I was taken advantage of. I thought I was helping, but now I feel like a fool. There's this constant weight on me now, a heaviness that I can't shake. I feel like I'm stuck, and I don't know how to move forward. I gave up something so valuable for her, and now I'm left with nothing. Maybe someday things will get better. Maybe someday I'll forgive her. But for now, I'm just here, walking through life without the one thing that used to make me feel free. It's been a few more months now, and I've found myself adjusting to a new normal. The walks have become routine. I've stopped resenting every car that passes by, though it still stings a little every time I see someone driving by in a car that could have been mine. What gets to me more now is the realization that I don't even know how to get back to where I was before. I've started talking to my friends about it more, about the whole situation with Emma and the car. Some of them listen, others just nod and offer platitudes. You did a good thing for her, they say. You're selfless. But none of them really seem to understand what it feels like to give up something so vital. They don't get that it's not just about the car. It's about the piece of myself I lost in the process. The independence, the ability to just go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. That's gone now. I thought about bringing it up to Emma again. Just confronting her about everything. But every time I try to imagine the conversation, I get stuck. I know how it will go. She'll be defensive, maybe even upset that I'm bringing it up again. I didn't ask you to sell your car, she'll say. And that's the part that always gets me. No, she didn't ask, but I offered it. I chose to do it. I've learned something in all this, though. I've learned that selflessness isn't always the noble thing it's made out to be. At least, not in my case. I gave up my car, thinking it would help her find herself. But in doing so, I lost a little bit of myself. And maybe that's what hurts the most, that I'll never get that piece back. The anger has started to fade a little, replaced by this quiet acceptance. I still wish I could get a car again, that I could feel that same sense of freedom I once had. But the longer I wait, the more difficult it becomes. There's something inside me now that doesn't quite trust the idea of giving up that much again. I can't bring myself to sell anything of value for anyone else, not without knowing they'll truly appreciate it. Sometimes, I wonder if Emma even thinks about the car anymore. She probably doesn't. Her life moved on quickly, and so did mine. But the truth is, the distance between us feels wider now. It's not just the car, it's everything. The trust. The connection. Maybe she's too caught up in her own world to even realize the impact this had on me. But I know now that I have to rebuild. Not just with her, but with myself. I need to regain that peace I lost, even if it means taking longer to move forward. Maybe it's not about getting a car again right away. Maybe it's about finding my way back to who I was before I made that sacrifice. It won't be easy, but it's the only thing I can do now. I'm still walking to work, still taking the bus when I can. But I'm starting to see the value in those small steps. Maybe I'm not as lost as I thought. Maybe there's a path forward after all. Time keeps moving, and I've noticed something shifting inside me. It's subtle, but it's there. I'm not the same person I was when I sold my car. I thought I'd be angry forever, caught in that loop of regret, but there's a strange sense of peace that's started to settle in. Maybe it's because I've had time to really reflect on what happened, or maybe it's because the sting of loss has dulled. Whatever it is, I don't feel like I'm drowning in frustration anymore. I've started looking at things from a different perspective. Instead of focusing on what I gave up, I've started thinking about what I've gained. The walks, the time spent alone, the quiet moments where I can really think, it's been a kind of freedom I didn't expect. I've noticed things I would have missed while driving, small details in my neighborhood, conversations with strangers, the kind of quiet that only comes when you're forced to slow down. It's not the same as having a car, but it's something. And I've realized something else. Maybe Emma didn't fully grasp what I sacrificed, but that doesn't mean I have to hold on to the bitterness. I've spent so much time focusing on what she didn't do, that I never took the time to see where I was. To see that I'm still standing, still moving forward, in my own way. That doesn't mean I've forgiven her, not yet. I'm still hurt. But the anger is starting to fade, replaced by a kind of reluctant acceptance. I didn't make the decision to help her because I wanted anything in return. I did it because I believed in her, and that's still something I can be proud of, even if it didn't turn out the way I expected. I've been saving up, too. Slowly but surely, I've been putting aside money for a new car. It's not happening as quickly as I hoped, but it feels good to know I'm taking control again. It's not about replacing what I lost, but about rebuilding. And this time, I'm doing it for myself. No one else. A few weeks ago, Emma reached out to me. I wasn't sure what to expect, but she apologized. It was a brief conversation, but there was something genuine in her voice. I didn't realize how much you sacrificed for me, she said. I'm sorry for not appreciating it. I didn't know how to respond at first. The apology was nice, but it didn't erase everything. Still, something about hearing it made a difference. Maybe it's just the acknowledgement I needed. Maybe that's enough for now. I'm not sure what the future holds. I don't know if Emma and I will ever be as close as we were before, but I do know this: I've learned more about myself in the last few months than I could have imagined. I've learned that it's okay to make mistakes, to lose things, and to still keep going. For the first time in a long while, I don't feel stuck. I'm not sure where the road is going, but I know I'm walking it with my own 2 feet, and that's something I never want to lose again. It's strange, but I think I've found some clarity. The process of rebuilding, of finding my feet again, has been much slower than I expected. But it's been worth it. I'm still walking more than I want to, still relying on public transportation, but I've started seeing things differently. For the first time in ages, I'm not defined by what I've lost. I'm defined by what I've kept. The quiet resilience, the ability to move forward despite everything, even when it feels like nothing is working in my favor. I've realized that those small moments, those mundane, almost forgettable walks to work, the conversations with strangers, the time I've spent reflecting, are all part of who I am now. I've come to appreciate them, even when they feel like a reminder of what I gave up. And then, last week, something unexpected happened. I was waiting at a bus stop when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, Ben, an old friend from high school. We caught up, talked about our lives, and naturally, the conversation veered toward cars. I told him about my situation, about selling my car for Emma, and how it led to everything that had unfolded since. He listened carefully, his expression shifting as I spoke. You know, he said, after a long pause, I've been in a similar position before, in a different way. Sometimes, we do things out of love or out of duty, and they don't always turn out the way we expect. But that doesn't mean it wasn't worth doing. You gave a part of yourself to help her. That's more than a lot of people would ever do. It wasn't the first time I'd heard something like that, but for some reason, hearing it from him struck a chord. Maybe it's because I've spent so much time beating myself up, thinking I was foolish for making that sacrifice, for giving up something so valuable. But hearing him put it that way made me see it in a new light. Maybe it wasn't about whether it worked out. Maybe it was about the intention behind it. Maybe, in the end, the act itself was the most important thing. I left the conversation feeling lighter. I didn't feel like I had all the answers, but I did feel like I was finally at peace with the decision. I had given a part of myself, yes, but I hadn't lost who I was in the process. I was still here. Still moving forward, step by step. I've continued saving for a new car, but I don't feel the pressure anymore. It will happen when it happens. In the meantime, I'm learning to appreciate the journey, wherever it takes me. Emma has been quieter lately. I think she's still processing everything, just like I am. We don't talk much anymore, but that's okay. I've accepted that sometimes people change. I've changed, too. And maybe that's a good thing. For now, I'm focused on what's in front of me, the small victories, the quiet moments, the lessons I've learned. And when I do finally get my car again, I know it won't be about replacing what I lost. It'll be about embracing the freedom I've earned, on my own terms. I don't regret my decision to help Emma. Maybe it wasn't what I expected, but it was what I needed. In the end, it's not about the car. It's about who we become in the process. Months have passed since I had that conversation with Ben, and things have settled into a rhythm I never expected. Life hasn't gone back to the way it was before I sold my car, but I've learned to appreciate the space between the before and after. The act of giving up something so personal, something so valuable, was a catalyst for change. I'm not sure it was the change I wanted, but it's the change I needed. I've started looking at life with a different perspective. There's a quiet strength that comes from weathering the unexpected. The decisions I've made, even the ones that didn't turn out as planned, have shaped who I am now. I've learned to stand on my own 2 feet without the safety net I once had, and that's more empowering than I ever gave it credit for. Emma and I don't talk much anymore, and I'm okay with that. There's no animosity between us, no unresolved tension. We've just drifted into different paths. Sometimes, I wonder if she ever thinks about the car, about what I gave up for her. But that's her journey, and this is mine. We can't always be in the same place at the same time, no matter how hard we try. The day I finally bought my new car felt different than I expected. It wasn't the same rush of excitement I thought I'd feel after all this time. Instead, it was quiet. Peaceful. The car didn't represent a return to what I'd lost, it symbolized what I had gained. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I didn't need to fill the void left by my old car. I just needed something to get me where I was going. Now, every time I get in the driver's seat, I'm not just thinking about the road ahead. I'm thinking about everything that led me here. The walks, the quiet moments, the struggles, the self-reflection. I'm thinking about how far I've come, how much I've grown. And as I turn the key and feel the engine hum to life, I realize that it wasn't about the car at all. It was about the journey. So here I am, moving forward, not because I have to, but because I choose to. The car is just a tool to get me there. The real transformation happened long before I drove off the lot. It happened when I realized that I didn't need anything to define me, not the car, not Emma's class, not the things I gave up. I'm more than any of that. I've always been.